Hey, everyone. Welcome to another great episode of the Easter Pod. I'm your host, Corey Easterday, and on this week's episode, it's a really fun one because we have Brad Stuver joining us. Brad plays in Major League Soccer, and he is a goalkeeper for New York City FC. Prior to that, Brad played for Columbus Crew SC and played college at Cleveland State University. He also has been involved in coaching. He was a goalkeeper coach at Ohio Wesleyan. He does a ton of stuff in the community. In fact, last year, he was a 2019 Community MVP Award recipient in New York. We talk about this quite a bit in the episode, but he's also a coworker of sorts with myself for Current Initiatives, the nonprofit that I'm a part of. Brad is a laundry project ambassador and leader, and he and his wife Ashley are both very involved in the community wherever they go. In fact, both of them were instrumental in bringing together teams of people and getting the Laundry Project initiative started in Columbus, Ohio, and New York City. So we talk about that. And we cover a lot of stuff during our conversation, like why Brad is so passionate about the game of soccer, why he and his wife Ashley are so committed to doing community outreach work wherever they go, what it was like to transition from playing for the Columbus Crew to playing for New York City FC. We also talk about, like I said, his experience just bringing the Laundry Project initiative to the places he's lived and important lessons he's learned being involved with the project. And perhaps the most fun of all, I talked Brad into teaching me the game of soccer, because even though I'm a big-time sports fan, I have had trouble getting into soccer, and I just don't know how much of it works. So I thought, wouldn't it be fun for myself and all the other people that are ignorant about the game of soccer and all the intricacies to have a real-life soccer superstar teach us the game? So that was a lot of fun, and we cover a lot more stuff, so you'll really enjoy our conversation. I had a great time chatting with Brad. Also, be sure to stay tuned through the end of the episode. We did have some technical difficulties with the audio as we are all quarantined and all working over Zoom to record our podcasts and have our conversations. So I include at the end a really great story that Brad shares about doing the Laundry Project in New York City, because really all throughout our episode, Brad shares some really insightful and important observations, and I wanted to make sure we got it all in there. So be sure to listen through the end for that. Before we dive in, just a quick reminder that if you're new to the show, or if you like the show and you haven't already, be sure to follow us on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at The Easter Pod. And hey, if you're on Apple Podcasts, if you like the show, give us a rating, leave a review. They really help the show out. And wherever you get your podcasts, just be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss an episode. Without further ado, my conversation with Brad Stuver. I am very excited, which is an understatement, to bring in today's guest on the Easter Pod, because he is someone I've known a relatively short amount of time. And in the last few years, though, even though we haven't known each other super long, he has become a dear friend and a coworker of sorts, you could say. Currently, he is a goalkeeper in Major League Soccer for New York City FC. And as we covered in our intro, is really just an all-around stand-up gentleman, an awesome guy. Everyone that knows him and his wife Ashley would say the same. They're incredible people. So, Brad Stuver, welcome to the Easter Pod. How are you doing today, man?
All good. Thanks for those kind words. I'm not sure I can live up to all of that, but thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. And I would say you've already lived up to it, so no pressure going forward. Obviously, everything has been flipped upside down right now as we all deal with the coronavirus pandemic and practice social distancing. So I'm just curious, in the wake of not being able to play games, how have you been spending your time and, staying prepared in the event that play is somehow able to resume?
Yeah. So, the daily routine is pretty similar every day. we have mandatory workouts 5 days a week that we can either complete on our own or complete on Zoom sessions. It's a mixture of running, biking, whatever we have available, and a little bit of strength work. We were able to get like a medicine ball, some light dumbbells, some bands, and a yoga mat. So 5 days a week, we have workouts that are sent to us by the training staff, and we just have to complete them by a time. And we have a watch that monitors our heart rate and workload, and it's sent into the team. And then the rest of the day is kind of ours to figure out what to do with.
When did you play your last game?
Last game was March 15th, I think. And then on March 16th, we were driving into training and we got a call that said, do not come into training. We are shut down for the time being.
Now, I'm not looking for any hot scoops on the Easter Pod right now, but do you know if there's been discussions? How likely do you think it is that play could resume sometime this year?
There's a lot of talks about how to get us back to play sometime this year and complete the season in a different way. I don't think we'll be playing in our home markets. I don't think we'll be playing in front of fans, but I think there is a path back to getting some type of season underway, kind of like the MLB is doing a tournament style in a neutral location. I think it's going to look similar to that.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and they're in line with a lot of. I follow more so NFL, NBA, some MLB, but I know that all the leagues are looking at creative ways to try and resume play right now. And as I mentioned up top, you play for NYCFC. What's it like in general, just being in the epicenter of all of this in the United States right now?
Yeah, things are pretty shut down. It's pretty scary to think about what's going on in New York City and what's going on in just across the river in New Jersey where we're at. And for us, it's just taking every precaution necessary. I'm the only one going to the grocery store. I'm the designated grocery store runner. We don't really leave the house unless it's to go get food or to take Nella on a walk. So, it's been about 6 weeks of nothing but apartment living.
Yeah, Megan and I can definitely relate to that. There's been one of us heading out to the grocery store, like you said. Kind of pivot here. I've heard more of your story as we've gotten to know each other over the years, but I'm not sure we've ever dove too deep into your love of soccer and how you got started. So, growing up, what was it about soccer that drew you into playing the game, and what has sustained your passion for it through the years?
I got started when I was about 4, and it was all because of my older brother. He was the first one in our family to play soccer. Before that, no one even knew really what soccer was. I followed in his footsteps, and like any younger sibling, I wanted to do everything that he was doing. So I just followed in his footsteps and learned to play and fell in love with it. And I played other sports growing up, like baseball, tennis, like all the different sports, but soccer was the one thing that kept drawing me back. And ever since I was 4, I don't remember a time where I didn't have a ball at my foot or in my hands.
As you got older, that I understand what you mean about, kind of how you're influenced into the game, what drew you into it. I know for me, whether it was playing music or, anything I've done for an extended period of time, there comes a point where maybe you feel like you have to find different motivations. What motivates you now to keep playing besides earning a living? Like, what do you love about the game as an adult?
It's very hard to describe the feeling that you get when you play. I think if this time has taught me anything, is that I'm nowhere near ready to give this up. The feeling that I have when I'm on the field, when I'm playing, when I'm training, on game day, there's just no other feeling that I've found in life that gives me the same excitement, that gives me the same desire to compete, that gives me the same anguish even. For me, it's just that roller coaster of emotions I haven't found in anything else. And it's something that I love and hate about the sport.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's nothing like your first love in that regard, or playing the game you love, doing what you love. But yeah, there's so much that's wrapped up in that. Before coming over to New York City FC, you played for the Columbus Crew, which is how we met because I was living in Ohio also at the time, and we'll dig into that more in a little bit. Can you describe your experience playing for the Crew since I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, I read that that's where you were drafted in 2013 through the waiver draft. So a significant portion of your career because it was only about 2 years ago that you came over to NYCFC. 2018, I think it was, and you can correct me on the facts, but can you describe your experience playing for the Crew in that time frame, how you were able to grow as a person and a player from that time that you came into the league until now?
Yeah, I mean, I was in Columbus for 5 years. I was part of the Crew officially for 4 of those seasons. I think the biggest thing about Columbus was it was so impressionable on me because those were the first couple years of my pro career. I was very fortunate to have um, Pat Onstead, the goalkeeper coach in Columbus at the time, and he really had a hand in shaping who I was as a professional and really showed me how to be a good professional in any manner, whether it was sitting back up, whether it was being third, whether it was being a starter. And he really instilled the values of if you want to have a long career, what you needed to do to accomplish it.
So you talk about having someone that taught you and influenced you in a really positive way. You were a coach at Ohio Wesleyan for a few years when you were there. What's something you love about being a coach and teaching the game, whether it was at Ohio Wesleyan or other opportunities you've had?
Uh, I mean, coaching is completely different than being a player. You kind of have to evaluate the player that you have in front of you. You have to think about all aspects of the game instead of just your own performance. So I think for me, it was just an eye-opening experience to be able to look at the game a different way and really be analytical about how the game is played, about how it should be played, about how players should respond. And then I was able to take those lessons that I learned about instilling those values in other people and then kind of pivot that and use it for myself.
Why did you get into coaching to begin with?
So I actually had no intention of coaching at Ohio Wesleyan. One of my friends that I knew growing up, Travis Wall, was the assistant coach at Ohio Wesleyan, and he had reached out to me and he was just like, "Hey, we have this position. We think that you would be good at it. Do you think that you could give us some time and help us out?" And I thought about it and I was like, "Yeah, this sounds fun. I mean, I can do it after training." And honestly, going into it, I just thought it was going to be fun. But I spent 3 seasons there, and I think it was probably some of the best times I had coaching. And I mean, I got to meet a lot of good kids, really good coaches, and I think it helped my development a lot.
Speaking of our Ohio connection, I don't want to get too far into the pod without giving a shout out to both of our incredible wives and, quite honestly, our better halves, your wife Ashley and my wife Megan. They met in high school and became best friends, and they're the reason we're even talking right now because Ashley, through knowing Megan, came upon the organization that I still am involved with, Current Initiatives, but at the time when I was living in Ohio, I was the Ohio director for Current, and one of our initiatives was the laundry project that I've talked about before in the podcast, but basically we partner with local laundromats to help pay for people's laundry that come in and provide laundry supplies and create a community event. And, the laundry project, that was something that together you and Ashley brought to Columbus. Can you talk about what motivated you to join the cause and bring the laundry project to Columbus?
Yeah, so I mean, definitely there are better halves. That's 100% factual. Ashley had brought the idea to me after she had talked with Megan, and Ashley and I have always had different charities that we've worked with, and this one she seemed very passionate about. She was like, Megan and Corey are doing this. I think it would be really cool if we could bring this to Columbus. I was like, okay, cool. And after our first project is really when it hit me how important the work is and how gratifying it is to be a part of such a amazing organization. And ever since then, we've tried to do as many projects as possible, and we hope to continue to take it with us wherever we go.
Yeah, and you mentioned for you and Ashley that one thing I've noticed in my time knowing you guys that's been consistent, and anyone who knows you both will attest, is your love for people and your commitment to community outreach. So whether it was all the stuff you were involved in Columbus or the stuff you're currently doing in New York City, why has that been such a big focus through the years?
I think the biggest thing for both of us is this world is such a big place, and there are just so many people in it. And the only way that we can get through life is by helping others and by giving back when we can. Ashley and I are both fortunate enough to be able to be in a position where we can give back as much as we can. And I think it's really important that we do. I think everyone deserves the right for clean laundry. I think everyone deserves the right to have a soccer ball and play and be coached from a young age. I think no one should be discriminated against. So, I mean, there's all these causes and all of these things in our world. And I just think, if people were kinder to one another, we would be in such a better spot than we are now. But for Ashley and I, it's just we want to give back as much as possible just because we think it's the right thing to do.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I know for me, one of the reasons I really appreciate both of your commitments to giving back and to empowering people and helping people out however you can is, for much of my life growing up, I was in the position of a lot of the customers we may encounter at the laundry project, where I grew up in a poverty background. My family had to lean on, because my mom was a single mom, we had to lean on a lot of assistance from organizations and food pantries and stuff like that. And I know how meaningful it was to have people that were dedicated to that. So in addition to the work we've been able to kind of do together through the laundry project, I just felt it was important for me to communicate to you how important it is to me on a personal level that both you and Ashley are committed to doing good, to helping people out, because even though we may never get to experience the full results of that dedication to giving back, I can speak from personal experience that it can make such a difference in someone's life when you're committed to that. When you talk to families at a laundry project, or when you interact with people through these events you're doing, what are, you don't have to get into like a specific one, but what are some of the stories you've heard or things you've encountered that maybe reinforced a perspective you already had of why it was important to give back, or maybe gave you a new perspective, like, wow, I didn't know people had to deal with that? Like, what are some things you've learned through doing the community outreach so consistently?
Yeah, and I think the biggest message that I've learned, I mean, especially after learning your story early on in our friendship and hearing stories throughout the other laundry projects, you really don't know a person's life just by looking at it on the surface. You have no idea what someone's going through. You have no idea what they went through when they were younger, until you actually get to know them on a personal level. I'll always remember, I think it was our second project in Columbus, I was talking to a single mom who said that she budgets her money every month, and laundry is part of that budget. And in bad months, she has to choose whether she gets gas, whether she gets groceries, whether she gets laundry, and she has to cross something off the list. And then sometimes laundry got cut off the list. I think that was one story that really resonated with me, because I didn't have the personal attachment to what laundry meant. That story is kind of what drove me to stay so involved in the laundry project, just because it gave me an opportunity to see through someone else's eyes and to understand where they were coming from.
Yeah, even though I grew up in the situation I described, that was one of my big takeaways when we started doing the laundry project, is really that, because I grew up as the child, I didn't work with the daily finances in the household. So that revelation of it really is choosing between buying groceries or paying a bill or doing laundry, because it can be so expensive. People are having to make that choice very often. And especially in the world we're living in right now, that's become more pronounced than ever in some ways. So it's really cool to hear you share that, and that you've had some of the similar revelations and have been able to talk with people, because laundry is something, and I don't want to spend all our time just espousing the virtues of the laundry project and why we do it, but laundry is something that is easy to take for granted and not realize that for a lot of people, it may not be life or death, so to speak, but there's so much dignity that comes from just having clean clothes. There's so much health and wellness involved, and just the ability to not have to choose between paying for laundry, which is an essential thing, or providing in other ways is huge. Now, it's when I bring this up, it's not about this per se. Well, it's not about this at all. I know it's not why you guys do it, but I know last year you won a community MVP award through your work with NYCFC and a lot of the organizations you work with in the community. Can you talk about what you're doing currently besides the laundry project in the New York, New Jersey area that maybe led to receiving an honor like that, or some of the ways you've been able to connect since moving there?
Yeah, so some other organizations that I work with are Street Soccer USA and Athlete Ally. Both I got connected with here in New York. I was at a team event for NYCFC. It was at Beyond Sport Awards. They're a nonprofit that gives money to other nonprofits working toward the UN's 12 goals for a better society. And I got hooked up with Street Soccer USA, which is an organization that goes into impoverished neighborhoods and gives coaching to youth kids, like the youth in the area. So the one that I'm connected with is in the Bronx. There's about 10 to 50 kids that come in like every week from about 10 years old to 18 years old, and it gives them a chance to, one, stay out of trouble, two, learn soccer, and three, they do other like outreach programs to teach them about nutrition, about like staying in school and how important that is. And they have different cities that they do it in, like New York, Sacramento, a couple other cities. But I've really enjoyed my time working with them. And then Athlete Ally is a LGBTQA plus organization that basically brings athletes in to be allies to that community and show that we all believe that sport should be as inclusive as possible.
Yeah, I think all the work you're doing right now is incredible. Those are certainly some amazing organizations to be working with and partnering with. And you're just really great with kids, man. I've seen you work with kids. I know when we had the different academies come to volunteer at the laundry project through the Columbus crew, that you guys did a really great job. I mean, we had 30, 40 kids in there trying to volunteer and do laundry and stuff, and you guys always did a great job at kind of mentoring them and coaching them through the process. So is that a passion that you've developed over the years, is working with kids? Is that something you want to keep focusing on specifically?
I think I'm just a grown-up child, so it's easy for me to relate to them.
Fair
No,
enough.
I mean, I like working with kids just because you can teach them so much, and they're always so open to learning, which is something that some adults are not. They form their opinions and kind of close their minds off to certain ways. So, I mean, working with kids, you can at least like talk to them and open their eyes a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. A little known fact about me these days is I majored in youth ministry when I went to college, so that was something I wanted to do. And I think I had all these noble reasons, but I think it's exactly like you said. I'm just a big kid in an adult's body, so
It's easy.
it is. Secretly, I just enjoyed the opportunity to do all the fun stuff that we got to do as the youth group, and
Exactly.
yeah,
They don't say, "Oh, we're playing dodgeball today." Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely in for that. Who, like, as an adult, who gets to go play dodgeball? Nobody.
exactly. So, we seem altruistic, but really it's more about us having fun than
Exactly.
teaching the kids. Before we get off the subject, one of the things that carried over with you from Ohio is the laundry project. You guys are involved with that. You brought that to New York City. Can you talk about the process of bringing the laundry project to New York City, and I know we've only done a few projects, but what have you guys seen happen in that time? What's been the response?
When we first wanted to bring it to New York, we talked to Jason. Uh, he flew into New York and met with me, Ashley, and a couple other leaders like Maria in the city just to talk about how we can bring it here. Maria does her projects in the Rockaways over in Brooklyn, which doesn't seem so far away, but here in New York, it's like 2 hours to get to where she's at. Um, and basically, we just tried to find a location that would work best for us. And I recommended the Bronx just because that is where NYCFC plays, and that's the community that I wanted to give back to at that time. But in doing the projects there, I think we've done 2 or 3. We've gotten a lot of NYCFC staff, fans. They've all been extremely helpful, and they've gotten involved, and they want to bring it to where they live. So I've talked to some of the fans, and they want to do a laundry project in Long Island. They want to do a laundry project in Queens. So, I mean, eventually I'm hoping that once we get back to a somewhat normal life, we can start getting back into the laundromats and doing these things and kind of expanding it into the 5 boroughs.
Yeah, that would be incredible for sure. And that's something I've always appreciated about you guys, in addition to your focus on helping people in the community and doing community outreach and being involved, is you have such a great ability to network and bring other people in and connect other people. And in that way, it becomes so much bigger than any one of us. It's not about you or me or whoever's doing the thing. It becomes about all of us working together. And I've always loved that approach to doing community outreach, because problems in our world are so complex and can feel so overwhelming and so substantial. And it really feels like it takes a village, so to speak. It takes all of us working together, bringing a different piece of the puzzle to tackle an overwhelming problem.
Yeah, and I think it's just getting people to have that realization moment. We've talked about like the moment that we've kind of like clicked in our mind that it's something that we wanted to do, and the more people we can get involved and have that moment, the more people we can get involved and they'll stay with it.
Yeah, and that helps make all of it just feel less overwhelming, and like you're able to really see significant change happen in the community where you're at. I love that philosophy. I love that idea of bringing that awareness. Transitioning away from the community outreach stuff, I'm just curious, what was the transition like? Because I've only made one. I've traveled a lot, but I've only made one major move in my life, and that was 2 years ago when we moved from Ohio down to the Charlotte area. So what was the transition like going from Columbus to the New York City area, both in terms of your role as a player and, just getting adjusted to a new team? And what was it like personally?
The move was daunting. Uh, Prices and real estate and price of gas and all of that stuff is different here. The commute times are significantly higher. We weren't too knowledgeable about the city, so we didn't really know anything about it. So that was a bit daunting at the beginning. Um, Team wise, it didn't really bother me. I was already a 5 year vet at that time. I knew some of the players on New York City, so I just kind of walked in and was myself and knew some of the guys that helped teach me the ways of this club. And now that I've been here for 3 years, I've kind of taken on a leadership role, just mentoring the young guys and being a voice in the locker room that can be a little level headed at times. And we've learned the city. So now after 2 years, it's not as daunting.
Have you, aside from, because I've been to New York a few times, New York City, always the typical touristy stuff. Do you watch The Office? Are you a fan of The Office?
I'm not, unfortunately.
All right, well, that's been Brad Stuver, ladies and gentlemen. That's the end of the pod.
That's the response I get every time I say I don't like The Office.
Yeah, I'm kidding. That's fine. Hey, to each his own. It takes all kinds. You're a weird person. I don't understand you, but whatever. That's fine. I brought up The Office because it's that thing of you bring something up as a reference and someone has no reference for it, so you're like, well, I guess I don't have a story anymore. But no, I brought The Office up because there's a scene in season 2 where the lead character, Michael Scott, played by Steve Carell, goes to New York City for a big corporate meeting, and he's taking the film crew around because it's a mockumentary. he's taking them around and he's pretending to show them all these secret New York spots, but it's really like the Sparrow major pizza chain. He's in Times Square, like, oh, it's my little hidden gem, you know. So that's me when I go to New York. I'm always doing the touristy, taking people around, like, look, there's Central Park. Oh, you bet you never heard of that. So since moving there, living there, have you guys, you spent more time? Have you found your spots? Well, we have to go back before the pandemic for this, but have you found your spots where you like to go eat and hang out? Like, have you guys found some of those spots that you've connected with?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely took some time. Getting into the city is a trek, but we've Ashley was in there for work a lot, and she found a lot of spots that she enjoyed, and I was in there for appearances and dinners and stuff, and we definitely found some spots that we really like and are looking forward to getting back to eventually.
As we all are, my friend, as we all are. I don't want to draw a false parallel here, but have you seen any crossover in being a part of a team, being a teammate, what it's like to build a culture in that way, and then doing community outreach stuff, getting other people involved? Have you seen parallels between your career and the stuff you do outside of it?
Yeah, I think it's very relatable. I think the values that you need in a locker room are very similar to the values that you need in like a community outreach. You definitely need to be able to communicate with people. You definitely need to have a desire to do what you're doing. You have to have the organization to get it done. I mean, it's very similar in terms of just the type of personality that you need to get things done. So it's definitely a parallel there.
Now, I have to confess something. You said you're not a fan of The Office, so I don't want to, just try and get back at you, but I got to be honest, man. I wish I was more of a soccer fan. It's it's hard for me to pay attention to the game and really get into it sometimes. I've tried, especially knowing you over the years, I've tried to make a commitment to get into it. So
It's
want to
okay.
just
Ashley still doesn't like soccer, so
it's ironic. You got all these people in your life that just could care less about what you do. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah.
It's not like that. It's just hard for me to, I'm a big sports nerd, which is kind of an oxymoron, I guess, but it's been a game that's been hard for me to get into. I played a soccer, like an MLS video game with a friend when I was a child, and I think he beat me pretty badly in the game. So maybe it was a traumatic experience I had. Who knows?
Could be,
What
could be.
the point is, when I thought about bringing you on, I thought about all the serious stuff I want to talk about, but I also had kind of a fun idea that in my mind I termed it as like learning soccer with Brad Stuver. I want you to teach me the game a little bit if you don't mind, like just
Could
some
be
of the
the most
basics.
difficult thing to do.
Yeah, well, let's put your coach hat on.
Okay.
And before we do that, I should say one quick funny story that just illustrates how ignorant I am about soccer. Do you remember when it was sometime last year we came out with those scarves to help raise money for the laundry project?
Yep.
Now, I don't know if you remember this, but it's my job to post on social media, and I called the scarf a clean sheet. Do you remember that?
I do.
And I remember texting you being like, "Wow, how dumb am I?" Because little did I know that a clean sheet is not the name of a soccer scarf. That is not the proper name. The name is a scarf. So let's start there. What is a clean sheet?
So a clean sheet is when a team keeps a zero. So if you shut out the opponent, it's called a clean sheet for the goalkeeper.
There you have it. That's the breaking news. A clean sheet is not the name of a scarf. It is an actual term in soccer. So Brad, can you break down for me and anyone else listening who may not be as attuned to the intricacies of soccer as you are? Can you just let's start here. Can you break down like, okay, so we're on the field, we're on the pitch as they call it over the pond, across the pond. What are the different positions that are out there and how are they working together?
So I'll make it as simple as possible. You have the defenders, you have the midfielders, and you have the forwards. Defenders' primary responsibility is to keep the opponents from scoring goals. Midfielders are the ones that have to do both. They defend and attack, and normally they're the ones that create the goals. They're the playmakers. And then the forwards are the ones that are supposed to be scoring the goals. Then you got the goalkeeper, who is the crazy one that dives around and gets hit in the face all the time.
Which would be you.
Which would be me. Unfortunately, I'm the crazy guy.
Why are you the crazy one? Why did you want to be a goalkeeper?
I have no idea. I can't tell you any reason. I think it's because I hate running, and I just kind of stuck with it.
Yeah, you're also a giant, so that doesn't hurt. You can cover
I
a lot
wasn't
of the
always a
field.
giant, but it does help.
True. All right, that makes sense. I feel like I have a better understanding of the game now. And matches, how do they time matches? Because I know it's different. Like you count upwards, you don't count backwards, right?
So this is the most difficult thing to explain to people, and I tell this to Ashley like every time. The games are 90 minutes. Each half is 45 minutes. It is a running clock. The clock will never stop during that 45 minutes. But then at the end of that 45 minutes, the referee can give added time. And added time is just extra time that they add on at each half for when the ball is out of play, if someone is down for an injury, if a goal is scored, if there's a substitution. And the amount of time added, there is no good explanation. The refs just kind of come up with it on their own, and they say, okay, this is what we're going to do. So I have no idea how much time is added, because the referees don't really have like a guideline that says for every goal you add 10 seconds, for every throw in you add 5 seconds. It's just kind of like up to their discretion.
Yeah, every sport has these rules, but the older I get, the more I realize, like, I think a lot of people are just kind of making it up as they go.
100%. I think the refs just like at the end of 45 minutes, they like, how much time do we think we should add? 4 minutes? Okay, cool. We'll play another 4 minutes.
Exactly. Do you have a sport you like to watch outside of soccer?
I think the one that we watch the most is basketball, because Ashley is a big basketball fan, and I mean, we love the Cavs. So I think that'll be the one that we watch the most.
Do you love the Browns too?
I am Cleveland born and bred. I am a Cleveland sports fan till I die. Unfortunately, that means that I have to root for the Browns.
Unfortunately, that means you're cursed to have a lot of pain in your life, though maybe not in recent years so much. And hey, the Browns are looking up this year.
I am lucky enough to be distant enough from football that it doesn't pain me too deep, but I see my brother, my friends, like you, like anybody that follows the Browns, just go through heartache every year.
Yeah, I am pretty open on Twitter, especially about my feelings of Cleveland sports, and really hoping for no heartache this year. Before we get off the soccer thing, who's the best athletes on the field? Like who's the position that just has to be at the top of their game? Is there a position that they tend to be the star players? Like is there anyone that like kind of stands above the fray on the field?
So I'll put it this way. In world soccer, there's always the notion of the number 10. So normally when, like back in the day when they used to number players, each position had a number. Goalkeeper was number 1, and then the defenders were like 2, 3, 4, 5, and then midfielders were 6, 7, 8. Wingers were like 9 and 11, or the striker is 9, the winger is 11. So they always say that the best player on the field is your number 10. So if you wear the jersey number 10, you're supposed to be the one that is the best on the ball. You're the one that's going to create goals. You're the one that's going to score goals. You're supposedly the best player on the field. So they'll always say like, oh, you play like a number 10. That means that you're a pretty good player.
Do you see soccer growing in the United States? Because I feel like it's definitely grown in recent years, as evidenced by ESPN and some of the major sports networks trying to buy up rights and get more games and get more programming. It's massive on the world stage. And growing up, you had like the U.S. women's national team. I remember Mia Hamm and people like that were putting the sport on the map. You had the national men's team. There were, it's definitely grown over the last 20 years. Like, do you see it growing right now? Do you see it continuing to grow in the States?
It's growing for sure. I mean, even in my 8 years of being a pro, the league MLS has grown so much. I think there's a long way for us to go to continue on our journey to being one of the top sports in this league. And that starts with youth programs. And there's been a lot of growth there, but there's still a lot of work left to do to make this as big of a sport as some of the other ones that we have here in the States.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to say if it will ever overtake something like the NFL or the NBA in popularity. It's very doubtful, but the
Yeah,
hope
I
is
was gonna
that
say I don't ever see NFL being dethroned. NFL is the USA's most favorite sport. So
it's practically our religion in a lot of ways.
yep.
So, yeah, I don't think it'll ever not be the most popular, but hopefully soccer can keep rising up into that upper echelon and just become more part of American culture and American life like some of the other sports have. You're not always going to be a pro athlete. So have you thought about, well, I should rephrase that. I know you have thought about it, but what that you can share have you thought about in your time after playing soccer professionally?
I'm going through a strength and conditioning certification. I'm just doing it. I mean, the pandemic's a perfect time to be studying for the test. I want to use that after I'm done playing. I want to get into coaching, but I also want to work on the physical development of players as well, because I think it's really important for players to understand all facets of the game. It's not just on the field stuff, it's also off the field stuff. So I want to equip myself with the knowledge that I can instill the wisdom of all areas into the next generation.
Do you think that community outreach stuff is something that you'll be involved in no matter where you are or what it looks like?
Yeah, that's going to stay. That'll be the one constant. Whether we're doesn't matter where we are, the community outreach will always be top priority for us. I mean, with family and community outreach, those are the top two things that we care about.
What are some lessons that you've learned being a pro athlete? I know there's a lot of possible answers to this question, but what are some lessons you've learned being a pro athlete and a teammate and being in the locker room culture and being in the league that you've been able to take with you and apply to daily life?
The biggest lesson about being a pro athlete is that hard work pays off. I mean, you always hear people say that if you put your head down and you work, good things will come. I think they don't always happen the way you think they're going to happen, but I'm a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. So if you put your head down, you do the work, good things will happen the way they're supposed to happen. And I think that's just a lesson that I'll take with me uh, throughout the rest of my life, that I just need to put my head down and keep working regardless of the scenario, whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, whether it's difficult, whether it's easy, no matter what, just to keep grinding.
Yeah, I can't speak to that in terms of being a pro athlete. The furthest I ever got was intramural B League basketball at a NAIA school. So not even the A League in intramurals. So I'm very low on that totem pole, but I can relate it to other stuff I've done in my life. And I brought it up before on the pod, but it's the most real time example for me. At times, even though this is something I love, this podcast has felt like a grind and has felt like I just need to keep working hard and keep pushing through it to see that breakthrough and see that success. So that's why I asked that question, because I know that there are lessons you learn, regardless of whatever career field you're in or what you do, that can apply to all of us. And I think that's an important one that you shared, of just working hard and grinding and staying the course and having that discipline. If someone's listening and they aren't in the MLS, they aren't a pro athlete, but maybe they're on that track, maybe they're playing youth soccer, maybe they're playing in college, whatever. What is some advice or encouragement you give to folks that are coming up behind you? What's stuff that you've shared that you would share to anyone that's in that position?
Biggest thing for anyone working it doesn't matter whether it's a pro athlete or uh, like a normal corporate job or a podcast or anything. I think the biggest thing to tell anybody is to put the work in even when nobody's watching. I mean, for soccer, it's not just the scheduled practices and the scheduled games that you need to be doing. you need to be doing extra work on your own. You need to be learning about nutrition. You need to be learning about strength and conditioning. You need to get extra touches no matter what, whether it's in the backyard by yourself or with a friend. I mean, if it's a podcast, listening to other podcasts, seeing how that stuff is done, talking to someone that's been in your shoes before and getting advice. I mean, Megan's into photography, so I'm sure she's talked to other photographers, looks at other photography and gets pointers. So it's all the little details that people need to think about that aren't just like the big lifetime moments that are like right in front of you.
Yeah, it's perfecting your craft, right? Because anyone can go out and kick a ball. Anyone can, hit record. It's learning the little intricacies and the details and putting in the hard work that really separates the people that are successful from the people where it's just kind of a thing you do.
Exactly.
Brad, I really just want to thank you so much for coming on, man. As we wrap it up here, I want this is pretty low on the list of negative things to come out of this pandemic, but I will say it is disappointing because before all this happened, I was pestering Megan about when can we get to New York and hang out with Brad and Ashley, and when can we all spend time together again. So I really am looking forward to the day where that's possible.
Well, maybe we can get out of New York and come visit you guys instead, since this is the epicenter.
Fair point. That's actually a really good point. We'll table that trip to New York for quite a while. You guys can come down to Charlotte. Have you been to Charlotte?
I think I've been there once for a youth tournament.
Okay, well we can show you around. We can show you some of our spots. Charlotte, the longer I live here, I think Charlotte is a really underrated city. I think it reminds me a lot of a Columbus or a Cleveland, and that's more of a mid-size. It's not as massive as New York, obviously, or Chicago or LA, some of the big ones, but it's got a ton of great stuff here, and I think it's underrated. So we'd absolutely love to have you guys here and show you around. And, I just have to say before I let you go, I try to not get too sentimental or gushy on these podcasts, but it really has been a pleasure to get to be a friend to you and Ashley. It's been an honor to know you both. It's been an honor to develop a friendship over the years, and I'm just super thankful for the both of you and who you are and everything you do to empower people and to help others. And, you guys are, I said it up top, I'll say it again, you guys are just great people. I know you're not perfect. We all have flaws. We're all screwed up in our own ways, but I think you guys have done a lot to make the world a better place, and I just appreciate you and your friendship.
Well, I appreciate that, and the feeling is 100% mutual, and we appreciate you guys, and thanks again for having me on the pod and giving me something to do during this quarantine.
Of course, man. Brad and I are gonna hop off and give each other a big virtual hug now, but thank you again, Brad, and we'll talk to you later.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
As I mentioned in the intro, I wanted to include a really important story that Brad shared about his observations in doing the laundry project. I wanted to put it at the end of the episode here because we had to cut part of it. And as I set up this story, it's something that I've noticed myself in doing the laundry project over a number of years that I'm going to let Brad take us out, but it's just that idea of when you're giving back, when you're helping folks out, just how cool it is to see them then turn it around and pay it forward. And just that sense of dignity and empowerment when you really feel that as a person, and the natural desire it creates to want to help other people out, and just how cool it is to see everyone giving back to each other in that way, especially in doing something like the laundry project. So I'm going to let Brad take us out on this inspirational story from one of their laundry project events in New York City.
People there at the laundromat, because in New York City, it's not always people that need to be there. It's just people that don't have laundry in their house. There are actually people that came to the laundromat, accepted our free laundry, but then donated what they would have spent to the laundry project to give back to other people that need it more than they do. And we talked to them and we were just like, why would you do that? And they were like, well, we're in a spot where we would love to help others, and this is our way of doing that. And I think that really resonated with me as well, because they could have just accepted the free laundry and gone home and not done anything. But instead they said, you know what, we're in a decent spot and we can help other people that need it more than us.